Good morning, my friends. I'm coming to you here today from Villahermosa, Mexico, where we are making sales calls, and this is what you wear and when you're making sales calls and your luggage is lost and you show up and it doesn't. But we are making sales calls and meeting some new people. We have met some really brilliant engineers, and we've seen some really interesting things here in Mexico. I always love traveling internationally. I just enjoy people's culture. And, just different things as we see things. This is a person that is moving huge deals of cheese into a restaurant. And we did a training on who moved my cheese, and I just thought it was an appropriate shot. But anyway, let's dig into chapter 8. I will be doing it off of my iPad, a little different than normal. And we'll see how it goes. And oddly enough, this chapter is called The Importance of Looking Foolish. We can all do foolish things at times. And it's important not to take ourselves too seriously, not to think more of ourselves than what we should. I think a lot of people fear what other people think. There's some things you need to get settled in your life if you're going to walk with God. And God is very open, very accepting, but there is things that He does require if we're to walk with Him. He requires humbleness. He also requires that He's God. It's not a co-God relationship where we and God make decisions. It's where you rely on the wisdom and the trust God. And at times, you may look foolish. And there's times that you may even look foolish trying to do good things. You may feel that God wanted you to do something and you start out and it's just a big mess. And you may have missed the calling of God on your life in that particular instance. And that's okay. If you don't take yourself seriously and you can stand before God and go, God, with a sincere heart, I tried to accomplish what I thought you wanted me to accomplish. There's nothing wrong with that. God will accept that. But if you're in a position where, no, I won't look foolish. In the Old Testament, this reminds me of a story of there was this soldier that had a skin disease. And he had a servant that was a Jew. And the servant said, if you will go to this Old Testament prophet, he serves a God that can heal you of that skin disease. So he loaded all of his wealth and he came to that particular prophet and said, I'm here and I'm here to give you these things. And the prophet said, nah, I don't want any of your stuff. And he said something very simple. He said, go dip yourself 7 times in the Jordan River. And honestly, the soldier was indignant of the prophet's comments, and he became mad, and he said, I came all this way, I carried all this wealth, and nothing from him. And he finally had someone around him say, you know, if you were asked to do something real hard or real difficult, you would do it, right? To be healed? Yes, yes. Well, this is a simple thing. Let's do the simple thing. And I don't know what would happen there, but I can imagine he went to the Jordan and halfway did a dip and halfway did another dip, and finally he dipped himself 7 times. And each time nothing happened. It wasn't that he got clean through this process or healed through this process. It was the 7th time he went down and he came up and his skin disease was healed. 7 times quite a bit. You know, are you willing in your life to walk with a God that may require you to dip yourself in the Jordan 7 times? In his mind, he looked foolish, trusting something as simple as that. In his mind, he put himself in a position where he was submitting to a power higher than him. In his mind, it didn't make any sense. I mean, there wasn't any value, there wasn't any practicalities. And a lot of times, that's the way God works in our lives. You know, can you think of anyone else in the Bible that has risked looking foolish in order to accomplish God's will? And you look at those events. Can you imagine Noah coming home? Hey, honey, God told me to build a boat. Where are you going to build it? I'm going to build it in the middle of the backyard. Why are you building it in the middle of the backyard? That's where God told me to build it. And honey, it gets worse. I'm going to put a hole in the side of the boat. Now, how could God had filled the ark with animals outside having a hole in the side of the boat? I mean, couldn't we have put a big mountain over here and maybe some staircases where the animals could have just dropped into the ark and you know, they climbed mountains, they had stairs. I mean, that wasn't anything new. Wouldn't that have made more sense? And, you know, his sons worked on this with him. And I could just see him, no, Bert, you need to get more tar in between that wood. We got to make it waterproof. But Dad, it's got a hole in it. It doesn't matter. And it wasn't completed in 6 months. There are different math here and different studies, but a lot of the things that I've read says this was a 125-year building project. How would you like to build a boat in your backyard for the next 125 years? You know, it would even make more sense. I'm going to build it next to Will's backyard because I don't want to look that foolish building a boat with a hole in it. But that's what he did. And he walked with God. But honestly, let's think about it. God wants to grow your faith. God wants you to have faith in Him. God wants to do the impossible in your life. That's how your faith grows. If it is possible, you don't need God. Go do it. And I think sometimes there's a lot of blessing in our lives that we don't participate in because we don't have the boldness to go, wow, God has given me this to enjoy. God has given me this to conquer. God has given me this to do. And we're too reserved. A lot of it because we don't want to look foolish. I know recently I've gotten my pilot license. I've looked very, very foolish in that training. And matter of fact, my instructor would say, Bert has been very, very foolish in his training. But I have really learned to enjoy that. But I've had to get over that foolishness, and I've had to be able to ask. And, I would tell my trainer, I know I've asked you this 10 times, but I still don't have it right in my head. And I would have to embrace that. But there's things in your life that God has probably put his finger on that he's wanting you to do. And it comes at a cost of risking looking foolish. And you got to decide, am I going to rise and fall before my God or rise and fall before other people? What is going to be the motivation of your life? Are you willing to chase a lion that physically should be impossible for you to come out on top? Are you willing to chase something that may be foolish to those around you, but something you have prayed about and something that you feel God is leading you to? Because that's what God does. I mean, look at his nature. David and Goliath. The children of Israel, when they left Egypt, God put them right in between the Egyptian army and the Red Sea. That's who my God is. My God wants to be seen as the person that does the impossible. And he wants to teach you to trust him. And I would just encourage, if God has called you to do it, go do it. Don't worry about looking foolish. People are a lot more willing to forgive foolish attempts at things when it's done as something that they feel the Lord has called them to. And, from as simple things as, hey, I need to pick up a phone and reconcile with someone. Hey, I need to pick up a phone and tell them that I've been thinking of them and it's been a long time. You need to initiate love on their behalf. You need to be willing to cross that line and go, hey, you're important to me, and I want us to have a relationship. At times that can look foolish. And I just want to encourage you, when you pray and when you deal with what does this look like in front of my peers, that you're able to think back on various points in the Bible, in various words of flesh and blood, and you're able to go, that's probably exactly where God is calling me to, because that's his nature. Not to make you look foolish, but to make him look great, to make him look like the one, to make him look like he has accomplished the impossible. That's how he grows our faith. Things that are possible, we don't need God for. And there's a lot of good things that I think we need to do in our lives that are within our own strength. But there's a lot of things that God will call you to when you allow Him to be God, and He's going to call you to chase lions. Wow, look at the life you get to live. I mean, people think that the Christian life is for the meek and the mild. Guess what, people? Meek and mild don't chase lions. Christians do. Have a wonderful day, my friend.